A frequent experience that's getting more frequent for me in Strategic Coach is that entrepreneurs who are in my workshop say, there's another coach there. There's a coach in the room, and this coach, coaches entrepreneurs out in the marketplace. And I said, well, this is a good place for him. He'll learn a lot from Strategic Coach. And they said, well, this is a competitor. And I said, there's going to be millions of coaches in the world over the next 10 years. And I'd like to just reflect a little bit on our free zone success story today, and that's Darryl Bellamy, who comes from Charlotte, North Carolina. And he's a fear coach. Very, very interesting. What the human mind can focus in on and transform. And what he does, he goes around and he collects fears, and he's collected 50,000 fears. Okay. And what he does, he looks at each of the fears and he thinks of the smallest action that you can take to actually transform the fear into motivation, into actual action and achievement. And I was so tickled when I heard about that. I said, can you imagine that? I said, for most people, fear is something you don't even want to talk to. And here's somebody who collects them. He asks people, he interviews people. And I said, wow, humans are just amazing. The different things different kind of unique passions and interests that people can have. And we see this more and more in Strategic Coach. And my sense is that this wasn't possible 50 years ago. I don't think it was possible 25 years ago, but because of the technologies that we have for identifying people all around the world who would be interested in what you're interested in, it's possible now for a person to actually build a business, an entrepreneurial business, out of almost any interest that other human beings have, as long as you can create a community and you can create a following. And Darryl's kind of he's like a triple header for me. So you take something like Darryl, he's got a passionate interest in something. He drills down on it and he says, I know more about this than anyone else in the world. And not only that, the moment I bring it up, people bring up their fears and they say, how do you deal with something like that? And I've thought it through. And you name the fear, I can name the small action that you can take that'll turn your fear around. So what a world we live in. What a marvelous world. And if it's an entrepreneurial world, it's a marvelous world. So I'm just so thrilled to be able to kind of bookend and comment on what Darryl is sharing with us.
Name is Darryl Bellamy, Charlotte, North Carolina. I get the opportunity to travel around the country talking to mainly students and millennials and anyone else who will listen about fear. So I categorize myself as a fear researcher. So at this point, I've collected almost 50,000 written fears from students, millennials, and people, professionals across the country. So I get a chance to, most of my business is done on a stage or now on Zoom virtually. Wrote a book. So I get a chance to travel in the country, pretty much speaking to students and people around what are the things that are stopping you and them from getting to that next level and helping them to get past that in their minds and in life. So, yeah. So to answer this question, the biggest one that I found hands down the biggest category comes down to the fear of not being enough. So it comes down to confidence in what you believe about yourself. So that's a common thing that I see over and over again. The second one that's literally like a close second that sometimes might pass that one or they go back and forth is the fear of failure. Oftentimes in business and life, in school and whatever that is, we don't push, we don't try to do certain things because we're afraid of like what will happen if we fail. So those are the two things that I focus on a lot in my keynotes and my talks and my programs to see if I can help people to break through those two to get to whatever that next thing is that they want. So the first thing is I believe that in all things that we do, we have to acknowledge the fear that we have. Oftentimes we are living with these things. We're having these things go through our mind and we never sit down and actually say like, this is what I'm dealing with. this is the thing that's controlling me. So in every program, in every conversation that I have, I want people to first realize, like, what is that thing that's stopping them? So the question that I ask people is, finish the statement, I fear that. So you start with I fear that, and you write, what is that thing that's stopping you from getting to that next level? In all of my programs, everyone starts at some point. They used to do it in person. They used to take the fear, drop in like a fake fire pit up front. Now they're dropping it into the chat. So we go through that. When it comes to just the confidence and overall belief about yourself, I think there's little things that we can do on a daily basis. So for example, for example, keep a success resume. So this is a resume that no one sees, maybe my friends and family, people that I want to show, where I go back and on my success resume, there's a guy named Jesse Eisler who talks about his building your life resume, similar to that. So on mine, I have like my top 10 things, my top 10 moments in my life that I am most proud of. Like for example, when I bought my first house, when I quit my job when I first quit my job, when I tried something I failed and the next time I actually won the position. And then on the left-hand bottom corner, I have like, what are the moments in my life that makes me smile? Because oftentimes, and this is what gets me sad, sometimes gets me kind of emotional, is when I'm talking to people in general, anytime you're not confident or you don't believe in your abilities, you're oftentimes think about those negative moments in your life and not about all those little successes that we sometimes get in our life. And we just totally just move past it and think about what that next thing is. So anytime I'm feeling down, anytime I'm feeling like I'm not enough, and it's so easy to do that with social media and LinkedIn and comparing yourself and looking at your friends, I go back to that success resume and I'm like, oh, I did achieve that. I did do that. And that's just one of the simple ways that helps me. The second thing is oftentimes we don't do things, not because of failure, but because we're afraid of what happens when we fail. So I think oftentimes I like, okay, what is the smallest step that I can take? In most things in my life, I break down into the smallest steps where I feel the most comfortable. And then I'm amazed over time how those small steps create that big staircase going forward.